Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com, and I got a call from a friend of mine who told me that, surprise, surprise, Bill O'Reilly was saying disrespectful things about black people, which we know that's kind of his job. That's how he makes his money. And he was talking to a very good friend of mine, Mark Lamont Hill, on Fox News, and he said some things about the South Side of Chicago that I know are simply not true. I love the South Side of Chicago. WVON is my favorite radio station in the entire country. There are there's lots of history there. There are beautiful people there. And I wasn't surprised when some of my friends from the South Side wanted to defend the honor of their community. And one of those people who happens to be a very respected resident of the South Side of Chicago is Karen Wallace, who's an attorney out of Chicago, who's also a contributor to Your Black World. And she kind of wanted to clarify some of what O'Reilly said that night to basically make it clear that South Side of Chicago is not what he makes it out to be. So first I want to ask Karen, how are you today?
I'm fine, boys. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. Now, what happened with O'Reilly and the South Side, and what was it that got you so riled up about it?
Well, when O'Reilly was interviewing Professor Mark Lamont Hill, who of course is a brilliant professor and commentator, he made the comment that the South Side of Chicago is the most violent community in America. It's the most unsafe community in America. And he was talking about entitlement, that magic word, and how so many entitlement programs, have been utilized on the South Side of Chicago. And look at it, look at the failure of that. And, he was going on to say how Obama was responsible for that, for at least part of it. And so he was critiquing the entitlement programs that started off the discussion immediately with the South Side of Chicago. And there was, and it was so, just so irresponsible, which, that kind of goes hand in hand with Bill O'Reilly. But when you look at, the country, and where we're at and the racial division and, so many issues that we have involving race, are based on stereotypes and misperceptions that are perpetually promoted, I guess throughout our history. And so when you have someone like Bill O'Reilly who has a large audience and he's irresponsibly, basically, saying that, black people on the South Side of Chicago are just lazy and getting all kinds of public money and Obama's responsible. I mean, it's just very incendiary. And, he's doing nobody at all a favor. So it's just very, very disgusting. And Professor Hill, of course, obviously is not familiar with Chicago. So, well, he's probably familiar, but not with the South Side of Chicago, I should say. And, so, I didn't feel he was really, knowledgeable and, to really address, O'Reilly in the manner that he needed to be addressed.
Right,
and it was
right.
Quite appalling.
Interesting. Well, I know Mark really, really well, and I'm sure that Mark, he picks his battles with O'Reilly. He does a very good job in his debates with O'Reilly. Mark and I are a little bit different in the sense that I told Mark, and I told Fox, I said, I don't want to talk to O'Reilly. Even when O'Reilly spent a whole week talking about me on his show, literally working to get me fired from Syracuse, I didn't respond because I think that sometimes we give people credibility that they don't deserve just because they have a big audience or big platform or they make a lot of money. O'Reilly, let's be clear, O'Reilly is a bigot. O'Reilly is a racist who deserves no credibility. So I don't care if he had 100 billion viewers. He doesn't deserve our attention in terms of us actually going on that show and trying to engage with him in an imbalanced, scenario. And I think that now I think I separate that obviously from, what you're doing, which is defending the reputation of your community and making it clear that the South Side is not what O'Reilly is trying to say that it is. And I agree with you. I spend a lot of time on the South Side. Most of the people I know from the South Side are very good people, hardworking people, productive people. None of these stereotypes hold true. Now, mind you, in every community, you've got people that are doing things that you don't agree with. But the South Side of Chicago is actually one of the most powerful and most amazing communities in the entire United States when it comes to what happens within Black America in that space. It actually reminds me of what I see and what I feel when I go to Harlem, when I see these people that just have this vision that is so progressive and so meaningful, and they're so connected to the core of who they are. If I could make all of Black America like the South Side of Chicago, I would do that. I'm talking about the good parts of the South Side, right? I mean, because again, every community has its issues. Now, what do you think about, recently, I don't know if you've seen where Jesse Jackson's daughter Santita is now working with Fox News. And actually I was watching Fox, I was watching it by accident. I usually end up watching Fox by accident when I'm, in a doctor's office or I'm in the gym and it's on the TV. And I saw that there was a Black woman interviewing Vanessa Williams. And then the next show I saw a different Black woman interviewing a white guy. And I said, is Fox trying to diversify? Maybe they're trying to get more Black people on their network. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's a good thing? Do you think that that means that African Americans should give more respect and credence to Fox News? Or do you think that they're just sort of trying to get ratings and make money and manipulate us?
Are you speaking in terms of having Reverend Jesse Jackson's daughter on Fox? Is that what you're referring to?
Santita, in addition to the other African American faces that seem to be popping up on Fox. I mean, do you think what do you think is going on there? I mean, do you think that they're trying to somehow regain some degree of credibility with Black people? And do you think it's going to work?
They may be, because I can't think of any other reason why they would have, more than one Black face. So it's possible that they are trying to, gain some credibility and attract some viewers, because they realize how important the Black vote is. If they're trying to, I noticed some other Republicans seem to be trying to, get Blacks over to their side, so to speak. And so it's possible that they are, they may feel that if they have a few Black faces, regardless of their politics, that might be sufficient, to attract Blacks, over to their side. They may think that simplistically because we're often underestimated. So that's highly possible. I have not heard any of these commentators because I really rarely watch Fox News or the Fox network. So I have no idea of the content, of their interviews. So it's hard for me to judge from that standpoint. But I certainly think there probably is some strategy behind what they're doing.
Well, and I agree with you. I think that Fox, I don't turn on Fox. I don't watch Fox. I don't want to hear, people say, well, I watch Fox to see what the other side is saying. You know what? Screw them. And that's just the most straightforward way you can say it. This is a network, a network that claims to be a legitimate news outlet that has allowed people to make jokes about assassinating the first Black president. They made a joke about lynching Michelle Obama. They have said things about Obama and about the Black community that would be unforgivable if they didn't have, tens of millions of dollars in the bank that they were using to pay their way out of their ridiculous behavior. And that's what bothers me about Black people sometimes, is that we give everybody a damn get out of jail free card. If you come back to us, you can piss all over our community. Excuse my French, but it makes me mad. And if you come back and give us a check for $100,000, all is forgiven. And so I don't like that. That bothers me. There should be some things that money cannot buy. Money should not be able to buy your dignity. It just drives me nuts. So, when I see,
I agree.
When I saw Santita take the job with Fox, and I love Santita. I'm not being critical, but I had to ask her when I wrote about it, I said, this is the network that tried to destroy your father's legacy. I mean, they took that audio of Reverend Jackson in 2008, where he said, I want to cut Obama's nuts off, and used it to try to dismantle him and to destroy him. You do that to my daddy, I'm never working for you, ever. And so the same thing is true with yourself. You are a goddaughter of Jeremiah Wright. You saw what Fox tried to do to Jeremiah Wright. I doubt that Fox News could call you up right now and say, hey, Karen, we want to give you $100,000 a year to come work for us, or $200,000 or $500,000 a year, or $1 million a year. I mean, would you take a contract like that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So that
Reverend Wright knows that.
Yeah, and so that's my issue. That's my concern. And again, it's not really to discredit anybody who chooses to do what they're going to do with their career. But when it comes to that madness with O'Reilly and Fox and all that, we've got to get past this idea where we think of it as a game. You know, what happens is you've got African Americans who are high profile public figures who know that they need a media platform to have a voice. So what they do is they make these agreements with these bigots out here like Bill O'Reilly and Culture and others to basically engage in a back and forth that leads to profitability for everybody, that helps everybody get ratings. And it bothers me because there are real consequences to this kind of behavior. Trayvon Martin's mother was brought on to the O'Reilly factor by her attorney in a situation where she cannot win. You're not going to walk out of that show with your baby's legacy intact. They don't love Trayvon. To them, Trayvon is a dead nigger, and one more dead nigger is always a good thing for some of these bigots out here. So she had no business being on that network. And I'm sorry I'm getting so.
But she handled herself. The good thing is that she handled herself well, with such grace and dignity.
I think she really did, but her attorney should never have brought her into the lion's den. O'Reilly's been doing this for 20, 30 years. He knows tricks that regular people don't know. He knows how to make you look like a jackass. Her attorney, I'm not getting mad at his mother or to Trayvon's mother for going on the show, but I'm getting mad at that attorney for bringing her on there because there's nothing that I can see that bringing her on that show is going to achieve other than maybe getting more notoriety for the case, maybe getting more notoriety for the attorney, and maybe positioning them for what I think they're trying to get, which is a big civil settlement. I think they're thinking about the money at this point, not necessarily justice and all the other things that the rest of us are fighting for, and that's what actually ends up bothering me. So you have to forgive me, Karen. You know how I am. I
understand. I agree.
Yeah, something bothers me. I can't help but to get it out there, and and I don't mean to be offensive to anybody who is doing something different from what I agree with. I just think that we kind of have to really be thoughtful about what we do. And I'm not even here to sit here and pretend like I could never work with a network like Fox, or I could never work with a Bill O'Reilly on a certain context or whatever. Anything is possible. But I think that we have to think about the terms under which we are negotiating with these people because they don't have our best interests at heart. Now, I'll let you get the last word. You tell me about your history with the South Side. What made you feel so passionate about defending the South Side? And what has your experience been as an African American professional living in the South Side and being a part of that community?
Well, just from a very diverse standpoint, I know that O'Reilly was targeting African Americans and stoking hatred and stereotypes with respect to African Americans. But the South Side is more than African Americans. It's, Mayor Daley, the Daleys are from the South Side of Chicago. The University of Chicago is on the South Side of Chicago. Minister Farrakhan lives in a beautiful home, on the South Side of Chicago, close to, where the Muhammad Ali Mansion, where that's located. I mean, they're beautiful African American communities. There's Chatham. There's South Shore, although there have been some issues there as of late. But, there is Bronzeville, the historic Bronzeville, that's coming back, where African Americans migrated, from the South. So, Chicago, the South Side of Chicago has a very rich history. Gospel music, originated on the South Side of Chicago. So the DuSable Museum of African American History is on the South Side of Chicago. And there is some violence, but most black people are not violent. You have a group, there was a study that came out recently, where, there were actually, the percentages, were given out of, the number of people, the percentage of people who are committing violent acts. Now, most people on the South Side of Chicago are law-abiding citizens who work every day, not receiving entitlements, as Bill O'Reilly would have you believe that everyone on the South Side of Chicago is receiving some type of public assistance, so that's just horrendous, and it's really the opposite of what is really going on in the South Side of Chicago. And I can go on about the South Side of Chicago. Obviously we don't have the time for that, but, You know, it's a very rich place, and he really, you know, he distorted, you know, all that the South Side of Chicago is about by declaring it the most violent community in America in which to live. And I don't think our mayor would be very happy with that. I don't think Mayor Emanuel would be very happy about that. This characterization.
Well, you know what? I'm not from Chicago. I don't live there. But even as someone who doesn't live there, I'm not happy about that. And I think that all of us should be offended when our communities are misrepresented in that kind of way. And I'm glad that you stepped out to represent your neighborhood in such a dignified manner. You're far more dignified than Bill O'Reilly. But then again, that's not saying much. I set the bar pretty low, but you are a dignified person, very a brilliant commentator. So thank you so much for your time, Karen. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all for checking us out Thank you all for checking us out at yourblackworld.com. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.